Hello everybody, welcome back to a new series on my channel that I'm going to call Is It Worth the Grind? This is going to be a series where I go over things that are kind of hard to get in video games, whether it be Roblox games or other random games on like Steam or something, and I'm going to go through those games and grind out like some of the hardest things to get in those games and tell you if they're worth it or not. And today's first episode is on Blox Fruits, and I'm actually going to do a few of these on Blox Fruits, so the first three are going to be on Blox Fruits. And for this first video, I'm going to be doing, is it worth the grind for GodHuman? One of the most notable fighting styles in this game, and most people do already have this or have it, have had it for God knows how long. Used to be one of the more impressive fighting styles, and general consensus is that it's currently the best fighting style in the game, which honestly I just don't see why people say that. I've used it quite a bit off and on PvP and in PvE content. This fighting style sucks for PvE content. It's probably one of the worst if I'm not mistaken. It really can't deal much damage to NPCs and is really only good for target to target damage. The only notable thing that you get out of it for PvE content is the X move, and even this does mediocre damage. Like, yeah, it does 4,893 damage with, I think, what is that, almost max melee? That's atrocious. Like, now let's try doing that again. Like, the likelihood of you hitting this a second time without immediately trading out damage is incredibly low. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not inherently bad for PvP. From what I've gathered, it's pretty decent because there's a lot of things you can do to set up for one-shot combos. Since, the C move, when you charge it up, does move further, and the Z move as well can pretty much put a lot of pressure onto the person that you're fighting. But if you're getting this and you only like playing this game for the PvE aspect, I really don't think you should bother. Outside of bragging and flexing rights, there's genuinely no reason for you to go out of your way and get this. Now, even in PvP, this fighting style is lackluster. If comparing it to something like Dragon Talon, it is really just not worth your time. With subpar damage, and this thing will, this grind, getting this, it is incredibly long. And this took me, I think, my entire playthrough to get, actually, because I just realized, yeah, you need to go through every single C and get every single fighting style to 400 mastery, except for one fighting style, and that is the new one that was just added to this game called the Sanguine Art. Sanguine Art is a unique fighting style that involves bats and like being a vampire, and it's very busted. That fighting style is broken. Don't get me wrong, that fighting style is very tedious to get your hands on, but it is nowhere near as difficult and or atrociously hard to get than GodHuman, because for that fighting style you just need to kill the Leviathan, which there are plenty of people on the Discord server that you can go and ask to help you kill the Leviathan. Now the thing is the majority of the moves, from what I've gathered, don't really break instinct and don't really help you out all that much. Now let's go ahead and compare it to something like Dragon Talon. Very unlikely that you'll actually get more use out of this fighting style than Dragon Talon. Or something like Sharkman Karate. Why would you spend hours of your time going for this fighting style outside of bragging rights and a very specific PvP scenarios, which other devil fruits, abilities, and swords can just make up for it? Like, do you really want to spend 20 hours of your life going for a fighting style that is literally mediocre? I mean, come on, dude, it's called GodHuman and it barely makes you feel like a god. Like, you would at least expect it to be more flashy or at least more interesting. But no, it's just a copy and paste of every other fighting style. It's got a fast dash move, it's got an AoE move, and it's got, fucking another rushdown move. Like, because, we needed more of those, because God forbid they innovate, right? I mean, I guess you could use it if you really want to, but really, if you're gonna waste all of this time, I wouldn't bother. I would spend that time personally going for something else like, CDK, or Soul Guitar, because at least these two have some kind of redeeming attributes and something to them. Like, as you saw there, let me do Electric Floor one more time for you to show you how much damage this does. Let's see right here. That did more damage than the fully charged X move on GodHuman. That is atrocious. Now, don't get me wrong, this one would be a little bit more difficult to land, but Electric Floor's hitbox is quite absurd and is more forgiving than anything else. And also, this move traps them, and I'm pretty sure it also breaks instinct like instantly, so Yeah. While GodHuman is relatively strong, it really doesn't set itself apart from other fighting styles that make it warrant the time it takes to get it. Because getting your hands on every other fighting style in the game, you will most likely notice the fact that they're pretty much all the same. Sometimes some of them have different moves, some of them don't. It really just depends on which fighting style you have. But some of them are even more unique and actually innovate more than GodHuman does, which is pretty interesting. Like a perfect example would be Death Step or Dark Step. This moveset is this fighting style is the only fighting style that has 4 moves, and this one obviously being Overheat. Overheat is pretty busted, and it can really fuck people up. Like, you'd be surprised, and is able to put on a lot of pressure because 2 moves, the X and the C combo into each other, and there's no way to get out of them. So choosing it over other fighting styles, even fighting styles like Dark Step, are actually better than GodHuman in my opinion, because these two have guaranteed combos. If you can hit someone with your X move and then you immediately do your C, these two will combo into each other to deal a nice amount of damage to the enemy, and there's no way to get out of that combo. That's right, a fighting style that you can get in the first C is very, like, pretty much on par with a fighting style that you get in the third C. Not even. A fighting style that you get by the time you're level like 2,340. Like, that's absurd. That should never be a thing. There should be a clear difference and fine line between the two, right? Because this fighting style, despite it being super simple and easy to get, is just simply just good enough. Like, why would you want to get something like that apart from bragging rights? It's just a waste of your time. And, you know, God forbid you're using Buddha. I mean, like, do you really need, like, GodHuman to use Buddha? Really? Are you gonna waste your time? Just use swords, bro. Just use swords. Like, what are you doing? If you're running Buddha, run swords. Like, it's just not worth using fighting styles, because, you know, swords do more damage. But apart from that, well, I'm not really sure. I really shouldn't have to be comparing a fighting style that you get in C3 to fighting styles that you're able to get in C1 and 2. It just simply shouldn't be a thing. Oh yeah, did I mention that Electric Claw is also pretty much just as good, if not better, than GodHuman? Yeah, this is the only other fighting style that people would compare GodHuman to, and I couldn't agree more. This fighting style is fucking busted. I mean, like, you barely need to do anything, and every single move moves pretty much instantly, and it's almost impossible to keep you down. I mean, the X move is actually faster than the Z move on GodHuman, and the Z and X move instantly teleport you towards your opponent. So why you would use GodHuman over Electric Claw, to me, is insane. I don't get it. I don't know if there's something I'm missing that makes GodHuman just a little bit better or what. But I don't see myself, like, I've never wanted to really use GodHuman over these other fighting styles because, 1, it's just not that interesting. 2, I think the other fighting styles look cooler, which, you know, I mean, you know, who really cares about that, right? But still, really just doesn't make any sense. You can actually use the Electric Claw fighting style moves in Buddha. So, unlike GodHuman, you are not able to. They don't work, which is fucking annoying as hell. So, you know, that's nice. You can't use GodHuman when you're in Buddha. You're not able to use any of the moves except for tapping the X move, which then shoots out like a ranged blast, which is nice, don't get me wrong. But if you charge up the X move with GodHuman and you're using Buddha, it will actually come out from the center of your chest, and it won't actually hit any NPCs or players. So that's a downside. That's not a good thing, obviously. And of course, I don't think any fighting style should be like that. I mean, I feel like every single fighting style should be usable with Buddha, including GodHuman. Which, would it make it busted? Probably not. I mean, I don't think GodHuman is really that strong as a fighting style compared to other fighting styles. I don't see it ever beating out Electric Claw because, 1, it's easier to get, 2, they're basically the same, and arguably Electric Claw is better for the PvP aspect. You could probably use Dragon Talon over Electric Claw and GodHuman if you really wanted to, because it actually is very unique and has its own ranged move and AoE, which are both pretty strong, and I've gotten a lot of success out of both of them. So yeah, so that answers that question, guys. Is it worth the grind? No, it is not worth your time. Don't bother. Only reason why you should get it is for bragging rights, and that's it. Just bragging rights. It's literally a waste of your time. I regret getting it, and if I could take back the time it took me to get it, I would. And always, guys, If you hated this video, make sure you leave a dislike and something mean in the comments. I do read all my comments, and I do appreciate all your criticisms. Leave a comment down below what you want me to do next. Remember, I will be the next 2 videos will still be on Blox Fruits, and you can probably guess what those 2 items are. No spoilers, though. I'm kidding. The next one's going to be on Cursed Dual Katana. If you have any other game suggestions that you want me to grind, or there's some items in those games that you want me to get, and you want to know if they're worth your time or not, let me know down in the comments below. And anyways, see ya.